Coming in at number 48 on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings, it's Haoxi Wang. He goes by Simon, and he plays defense for the Oshawa Generals. A real fascinating human interest story as well with how this player got to where he is.
Yeah, Ross, I'll let you dive into that after we go through some of the numbers here for Simon Wang. 6'6", 212 pounds, left shot defenseman, born July 27th, 2007. And he started last season out in the OJHL with the King Rebellion, where he lit up that league. 38 games, 4 goals, 18 assists for 22 points. Lots of scouts got eyes on him, and it was clear that he needed to be bumped up a level. So it goes from the OJHL, drops the J, and just goes to the OHL with the Oshawa Generals, where in 32 games, definitely the points slowed. 0 goals, 2 assists. And he got a lot of playoff experience with the Generals that went all the way in the OHL till they met up with the London Knights. Obviously, 21 playoff games, 3 assists for him. And he's committed to Boston University next year. Maybe, Ross, he'll be on a deep pair with the guy we covered yesterday, Charlie Trethewey.
Exactly, and that would be a lefty-righty pair. But Simon Wang also could be back in the OHL. Now with the new rules, he can change that commitment, whether he's pushing it back a year or just deciding that the Ontario Hockey League is the best for his development. Bob McKenzie had a great piece on him. We'll get to the crux of that in just a moment. But Bob McKenzie has him as a first-round talent as of his midseason rankings. 31st overall. Elite Prospects had him at 35 on their April rankings. Scott Wheeler has him coming in at 43. Craig Button, not convinced, at 74 as of now. And McKean's Hockey has him at 76. Corey Pronman did not rank Simon Wang in his top 80. Now, where Simon Wang becomes extremely intriguing as a prospect, Bob McKenzie actually called him the most intriguing prospect in this year's draft, was born in Beijing and raised there until he was a teenager, about 14 to 15 years old during 2020, to pursue his dream of playing in the NHL. His dad works in the Chinese government, while his mom is heavily involved in sports and actually owned and operated 5 different hockey arenas in China. So that's where Simon first learned to skate and train. So he played in tournaments, but not a surprise, in Beijing, it's not like you can just join your local elite hockey program. And he didn't really play organized hockey until he got to major bantam. That's 14 years old. So he lived at a residence in St. Andrews College. His mom has now joined him in Canada, but that's a big jump of faith to come over and just start playing bantam hockey, not knowing how you stack up against Canadian youth hockey players. And to make sure this guy could play in the OJHL, his mom bought the Brantford 99ers, bought the team. He now steps into that league, though, and shows, hey, this was not nepotism. This guy could play in his first year with Brantford, got his feet wet, and then the next year popped off. 22 points in 38 games, solid defensively, an extremely physical player. And he'll have to find the right line there, because I think he did in the OHL, only 19 penalty minutes. But in his year in the OJHL, his full year, had 73 penalty minutes. And that was the start of this past year. When he got called up, he didn't look back. Played 32 games with Oshawa. But it seems to me like scouts are still trying to get a handle on him. If you talk to anyone around the Ontario scouting system, they say that anywhere between 20 and 32 NHL teams are represented at every one of this kid's games, because the physical tools are undeniable at 6'6", 212 pounds already, and only turning 18 in July. So he's got so much runway, so much experience to catch up on in playing organized hockey, that he might be a guy that becomes the first, like, oh man, I can't believe they took a swing on him that early in the draft.
And he's going to be a guy, Ross, I don't think you see him make the jump to the NHL quickly, but when he gets there eventually, like, I think this is going to be a guy when he's like 25, that he's going to be ready and in great shape to join the league, but he's not going to jump up there because, like you mentioned, he didn't play in serious competitive hockey till bantam. But when your mom owns 5 rinks, doesn't matter whether they're in China or Alberta, you're getting lots of ice time. And it's really helped him out, because for a guy that's 6'6", 212 pounds, he is an elite skater. And that's not even one of those for his size metrics. Like, he's just a good skater in general. And I'm assuming, Ross, back in Beijing, he's just getting on the ice, doing skating drills, skating around cones, stops, starts, suicides, pivots, all those things, working on his edge work. And when you're not playing and you're just focusing on skating, you're going to be able to really hone those skills. And that's what he's done. But there's a flip side to that. His hockey IQ and his reads have a long way to go, because he hasn't had that experience. He hasn't had, the right hockey minds, coaches, trainers, skills coaches helping him with the actual game of hockey until he was later on in his life. So he's got a bit of catch up to do based on the players that are playing in the OHL that have probably been on skates and organized hockey and doing summer camps and playing AAA their entire lives. So that's why I think, Ross, the raw size and abilities are there. But for him to learn the game at the pace he's going to have to be a professional, I think that's going to take a bit of time, which is no fault of his own.
No, not at all. And we always see NHL teams bet on size and mobility. If you can skate at that size, at that age, you're going to get scouts' attention. And Scott Wheeler calls him extraordinarily mobile for a player his size, with impressive skating technique through his inside and outside edges laterally, and flowing mechanics going north and back on pucks. He also mentioned that it was a very deep blue line for the Oshawa Generals this year. And in the playoffs, he only played about 9 to 12 minutes. So that, to me, could have been a good thing to watch how Ben Danford, who we covered last year, first round pick of the Leafs, and others on that blue line were able to handle those minutes. And he got a front row seat to it. Like, what better development for a 17-year-old kid who's just in his 3rd year of playing organized hockey is that? So I think he could be a breakout candidate in the OHL this upcoming season. And if he pops off and scores 30 or 40 points at that size next year, I know that's an extremely high jump from what he had this year, which he was on pace in a full season for like 5 points. I just think this, I'm not going to say boom or bust, because I do think that if he can skate and play at that size, he could at the very least be like a poor man's Tyler Myers, let's say, at the NHL level. But if he can put it all together, the sky's the limit for this guy. And that's why, if he's still there, and there's no way he is, but if he's there at the end of the 3rd round, you scoop that up immediately with the Florida Panthers pick.
Yeah, I don't see him being there. I also, Ross, I don't see this as a guy that you look at projected points as a progression in development. Like you mentioned, you're hoping he gets like 30 or some points in the OHL next year.
Well, one thing I noticed about him that could lead to that, and what made me think of it, a lot of the shifts that we watch for him, he does a great job of keeping pucks in at the offensive blue line. When like it's either a chip, he knocks it down, or he's able to just kind of poke the puck away of a guy trying to break out of the zone.
Yeah, and he plays a smart, simple game. Like a lot of plays, it's just him. He gets the puck, chips off the board, quick pass. He doesn't try to do anything too crazy or risky. He plays a physical game, and we talked about how he had 2 assists this year. One of them I saw was on a point shot that got tipped by, I think it was Kobe Barlow, the Jets prospect. So, like, he's not a guy that's putting himself in offensive positions, but as he gets better playing with the puck, you could see him get a little bit more action with the secondary assists, and maybe some of those shots make it through and end up in the net. But this is a guy, Ross, I see as being an elite, good skating, shut down 3rd pair defenseman in the NHL one day.
So how many stars for Ottawa Senators fans?
I gave him 3.5. And that's, I think, overall, I would give him 4 stars, Ross, because I see the vision, I see the potential. But like you mentioned, like, you're not going to pick this guy with 21st overall. Even if you trade back, you're probably not picking him late 1st round or early 2nd round. And the Ottawa Senators do not need another big left shot defenseman. But I think the team that does get him, I could see, Ross, a team that I think would key in on this guy, like Nashville Predators.
Yeah.
That's a team that knows defensive prospects. They're able to get these defensemen. They pick them, they develop them, and then they either keep them or trade them for other players and position needs that they need later on. So I don't think it's going to work out for the Ottawa Senators, but fascinating story. I'm going to be watching to see where he ends up and how he develops.
Imagine a summer of him training with Mark Borowiecki.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a lot of fun. A pair of him and Yak would be great. And Ross, there is a Sens prospect connection. He played 4 games with Luke Ellenis with the North York Rangers back in the day. So there at least would be a slight similarity, or not similarity, but someone that he would at least know.
Last year, Kevin He, 4th-round pick of the Winnipeg Jets, was the first Chinese-born player to sign an NHL contract. Kevin He moved to Montreal with his family at 5 years old, so he still grew up in the Canadian youth hockey program. This would be the first Chinese-raised player, came to Canada as a 14-year-old to sign an NHL contract if and when that happens. That is Simon Wang, who comes in at number 48 with an average ranking of 51.8. Let us know in the comments how you feel about Simon Wang.